Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Mustangs on Air from M&G Media. Welcome to our new show, Let's Rap. Today we're exploring topics about spiritual encounters. Some scientists and spiritual leaders spend their lives exploring the possibilities of a life beyond the one we know. Mother Nature herself will make you question the possibility. So I'm asking, is there a such thing as spiritual encounters? Today we have Stephen Gomez, Javier Suarez, and a special guest that will help us explore the topic of spiritual encounters and whether God really exists. For most people, a spiritual encounter means having a vision, coming face to face with a ghost, or experiencing the supernatural. Many of us have spiritual encounters, in fact, every day, but we don't know or even notice when we're having a spiritual encounter. Do you believe in spiritual encounters?
Yeah, I do actually. I do believe in spiritual encounters. I believe, just in ghosts, demons, angels, all that type of stuff. And mostly because I've heard stuff, I've seen stuff, and people that I believe are credible, and just with my own eyes, where I couldn't really explain it scientifically or not.
I would say I'm more of if I can't see it, I don't really believe it. But with that being said, I've had some spooky shit happen to me. So I don't know. It's kind of just one of those things where if something like that does happen, I'm just like, okay, well, there's a reason why it happened. It's not ghost. It's nothing. It's just something that, I don't know, random. I don't know.
I've had a borderline spiritual encounter, and I think I was basically in a point where I thought I was dying. I thought I was having a heart attack and I was dying. And I was at a bar playing pool. And I was like, well, I'm not feeling very well. My left arm hurts. I'm having some tightness in my chest, but I'm playing pool, so I'm going to finish playing my game of pool. And as I was playing, I was obviously thinking that I'm dying right now, and I'm playing pool against this guy. I've never met this guy before. He's one of my friend's boyfriend. And I was playing him, I was like, this is kind of funny. Playing a game of pool as I'm dying, it's like I'm playing against the devil. So I was in my embodiment, obviously this guy wasn't the devil, but in my mind I'm like, this is kind of funny. I'm playing a game of pool against the devil. Hit the 8-ball into the pocket. And it's funny because I was like, all right, I'm gonna call this side pocket, and I hit it, and the 8-ball misses, but then the cue ball bounces around and goes in that side pocket. So obviously I lose. I'm like, I called my own death. I knew it. And so I was one of those things where it's like, it's pretty interesting, but I was also able to recognize that's my own mind projecting it. So I was like, it's like a spiritual encounter that I made up myself.
Maybe it's just, it's part of that spiritual encounters. It's just, us trying to find something to connect with, in a sense.
In Hispanic culture, when a loved one passes away, they have this thing where they say, a bird will come and the bird will look at you, and it'll just anywhere. You could be outside and a bird will come, and if it's watching you, then it's the person who passed away that's, kind of like a guardian angel in the way. It means they're looking after you. I've personally never believed in it. But I feel like it's a pretty cool thing to spread around, I guess, to especially to younger people in a family or something, just to let them know, if they're taking it real hard, it's it's okay. You see that bird right there, Well,
it's interesting you say that because when my grandfather passed, I was went through a whole year, and then I went to football practice, and during football practice, obviously my heart wasn't really in it because this was the one year where he, first time he wasn't actually going to show up, and our school mascot was hawks, and it was really weird because during practice we had a hawk that come over, circled around us, cried out, and then it landed on one of the stadium lights, and it stayed there for the entire practice watching us. And it was really, you could explain that as just, maybe birds, just putting a nest somewhere, or, how could you explain, animal logic and all that, but. I remember personally just taking it as, my grandfather is here watching me. Right. And that could just be me being, trying to imprint, spiritual of my grandfather. Or, maybe he actually was there. I can't say for sure, but it definitely did, I think, emotionally help me out during that time, which is what...
Absolutely. And I get that part of it.
I mean, we are in like the Bible Belt of, yeah. So I mean, it's
not uncommon for that.
yeah, no, but it certainly is kind of one of those weird moments in your life where you're just like, oh, okay, it's nice to hear that, nice too, because certainly, I've had moments too where somebody's walked up like, hey, you look like you're having a bad day, and but that could be just human kindness, or in a sense of but I certainly wouldn't take away from the fact that maybe there is something. But it's just one of those things that it's a lot of different ways you could say like how you could explain that in a sense of why it would be.
Do you believe that you have to believe in God in order to have a spiritual encounter?
If it's there, then it's just there. Like if you believe that it's even possible to have one, then it's just gonna happen. You don't necessarily have to believe in either way. It's just like, I mean, on a very minute scale, it's like, I'm not a Republican, but Republican things are still gonna have to be nonetheless, because they're just there. It's like, you don't have to necessarily identify with or believe in things for them to happen to you, because if they're present, then it's just something that happens to you. I think a lot of times you'll find people that don't believe in God probably have a lot more spiritual encounters, because they'll probably be the people that are like, well, I don't believe in God, but I'm very into like the spirits and like the demon type side of things. Not like specifically those people, but it's like for lack of a better term, like gypsies and stuff. It's like gypsies don't believe in God, but they're like trying to, like the psychic connection stuff. Like they're actively trying to reach out to that realm. Like a hawk sitting there watching. It's like, that's just such a strange coincidence of situations where it's like I was saying earlier about religion, it's like, we can't really, there's like no explanation for that. Like nobody can factually say why that hawk is sitting there. So like we all have different imprints on it. And like for Stephen, it's like, maybe it's like, well, I mean, if I I'm not like trying to put words in your mouth to make, but it's like if like that's my grandfather, then that's like reassuring to you. That helps you feel better. You're like, he's watching over me. So I get why people believe it, and I get why that's a thing. It's just a personal choice that I just don't want to like just rely on that for my what are the odds you really care about my day-to-day lifestyles? Because it's just the idea of free will. It's like you put us here, and you may have an end goal for us, but we create our own paths to get there. We create our own experiences, our own lives. Just been like tormented, like in my dreams, in my life. Like I'm waking up with scars on my body. I'm having horrible nightmares, and it's like I definitely like I said, I get it. Like part of me is like, maybe it is out there. Like it makes sense for it to be out there. Like
Sometimes, I don't know, like I'll look at it, I'm like, man, they're doing really good, and if it helps them, maybe it could help me too. But at the same time, I'm like, how I think about it, I am my own God, and I am my own devil. Like I will make good decisions, I will make bad decisions. Nobody can make me do that but me. So it's something that I've thought about, but I haven't really actually started going to church or anything. Just thoughts. I mean, if you take a step back, like we're literally a speck in this damn universe.
It's not like God's up there flipping the fat switch on and off on you.
Yeah, like if my life's going downhill, it's because
of me. Yeah. If I have an alcohol problem, it's not because of God. It's because of me.
I wouldn't say I've seen an entity or anything, but when I was little, I was outside of my house, and it was only me and my mom at the house at the time, and I was outside, she was inside taking a shower, and I know she was taking a shower, and I'm by her room, and I hear somebody knock on the window, and it wasn't the bathroom window, it was her room window, so I'm like, is my mom out of the shower? So I run back in the house, and then it was like nobody, like she was still in the shower. And I was like, Mom, did you knock on the window? She's like, no, what are you talking about? And I'm like, somebody knocked on the window when I was outside. And it's pretty freaking crazy. It probably was, man. These damn milkman going rancid.
That was the milkman trying to get in. But
live much more.
So like personally, I was raised in a Catholic home. My mom pretty much forced me to get baptized. It wasn't until I was about 12, 13 years old, and when I started thinking for myself and started looking into it really on my own. And ever since then, I've always kind of been pretty skeptical about it. But one thing I can say about religion is it's powerful. I've had uncles who, when they were younger, early 20s, addicted to drugs, in and out of prison. And, they're in their 40s now, and it's like their life is done like a whole 360. Like they're doing awesome. Like they make great money. They're happy with their families. And a lot of it's because a few years ago they turned to religion, and like they're deep into it to where like I don't even. It's kind of weird to say, like I kind of feel like they're not the same people that I used to know, but it's for the better. But yeah, like it's powerful. Like it's changed their lives forever. And you know, you see something like that, and it's like that's awesome. Like, cool. Like, keep going, keep doing it.
What would have to take place in your life for you to become a believer in spiritual encounters?
I think a lot of the time it's just like you were saying, like something happens, like something falls, or there's like something natural happens, but it's just like automatic for our mind to try and like make those connections with things, because it's like it's kind of like the purpose of religion in general. It's like we have religion because we use it to answer questions that we can't answer ourselves yet. So I think that's kind of what the ghosts and spirit things is like. We're just using them as an answer to something we don't have an answer to yet. And I think a big thing for at least me especially is like let's say that's not a coincidence. Let's say there is like, because I think I can definitely believe that there's some higher power. Like I think there just has to be, because like, I mean, there's the cosmological argument if you haven't read about that. It's really interesting. But also just like how like we're here, like something had to have created.
Hawking himself said there had to be some type of
Yeah, it's like there's got to be something out there.
Do you believe in the Big Bang Theory at all?
Well, I mean,
Well, who's to say that
The-
God didn't make it in the Big Bang?
yeah, like that's the thing. Is like the Big Bang could happen. It's just God created it. God made the Big Bang happen. Because like I believe that that God is very offhands about things. Because if he's such a big grand God that's created this, I'm like, what are the odds you really care about my day-to-day lifestyles? Because I like it's just the idea of free will.
Yeah, and they're like, you know, people expect, you know, God's going to come down with, you know, $500 to save their bills, when in reality, God's probably saying, look, get off your couch and start going to work, type of thing. Yeah, but
Yeah, exactly. It's like if my life's going downhill, it's because of me.
go 100 miles per hour.
Please, God, make sure the cops are on the other side of the city. I really need this bank to get robbed.
To be honest, I've had, as I mentioned, at least 2 or 3 spiritual encounters. Yeah, but is it a coincidence or is it? Because I sort of believe, I believe that God steers people in your life, you know.
Right, yeah.
I do.
It's not uncommon for that to happen.
Yeah, no, but
It's funny you say that, because I have a similar story. Really, like recently, like 6-7 months ago, whenever April or March was or what have you. But me and my girlfriend, we went to Corpus Christi. We drove to Corpus Christi, and about 2 hours out, we got into Fort Worth. And earlier that day, mind you, we were talking about religion, because it's something we really don't talk about. I mean, we've never really talked about that in a relationship, but that particular day, we talked about it in the morning. And so we get to Fort Worth in my car, the serpentine belt starts to slip. So I stop at an AutoZone. I go into the AutoZone. I'm like, hey, you know, I know you guys aren't mechanics, but if you can come out and come look at, you know, it'd be great. So, you know, the AutoZone worker comes out and he's looking at my car. And he tells me what's wrong. And then he's like, he says some verse. And like, it was just crazy, the timing of it. Because I was like, man, just literally a couple hours ago, me and Alondra were talking about, is there really a God? And if so, like, would he give you any signs? And like a couple hours later, like, sure enough, there's this man at AutoZone preaching to us. And so it was just like a really weird coincidence. And I've actually had like a lot of coincidences like that. Like, it's pretty weird to think about, but I've had a lot like that.
Yeah, it's like there's got to be something
Right.
out
So
there.
do you believe in the Big Bang Theory at all?
Well, I mean,
have y'all seen those pictures of like just that little blue dot and like the black nothingness? That's like spooky as hell, I feel. Well, who's to say that God didn't make it in the Big Bang?
Yeah,
like you know, stuff like that.
exactly. Yeah. Because I think that's one thing a lot of people do with religions. Like, if something's going bad, they're like, "Oh, God's testing me." It's like, no, you put yourself in a shitty situation.
Yeah, we've had a great conversation, you guys, on spiritual encounters, and we thank our audience for tuning in with us. Again, my name is Mika Victorian.
I'm Bradley Wilson.